Yeah? Now just why might you be looking for me, Oh, you didn't know? I'm the 77th director of the Wangsheng Funeral Parlor, Hu Tao. Though by the looks of you, radiant glow, healthy posture, yes, you are definitely here for something other than that which falls within my regular line of work, aren't you?
Hello, everyone. Today we are here to speak about the renowned 77th director of the Wangshang Funeral Parlor, an amazing poet and a truly remarkable mind. Before we begin, I ask that you comment, like, and subscribe if you do end up enjoying the video. And thank you, and welcome to the case study of Hu Tao. So, who is Hu Tao? Hu Tao is a fascinating character for a plethora of reasons. From a glance, she is a bright and cheery girl who often shrugs off death and quite literally laughs in the face of it. Often, when someone is only smiling, it means they're hiding how they truly feel, what it is they're going through internally, and Hu Tao honestly is no different. Let's take a step back and look at who Hu Tao is. She's part of the Hu family, a family who has passed down the honor of burying Li Wei's deceased for generations. As a child, Hu Tao was always different, to say the least. She was reading complex texts by the age of 3 and had already displayed physical fidelity, often being in a handstand while doing so. She grew up very, strange, to say the least, cutting class to sleep in coffins and starting her journey to learn funeral etiquette at the young age of 8. Growing up, it's safe to assume Hu Tao had little to no friends, and there's not much mention of the 76th funeral director, which would probably be her father or her mother. Hu Tao, however, did have a close relationship with her grandfather, who would be the first person she performed a ceremony for. Throughout her lore, Hu Tao is portrayed as someone with what I call genius brain. Most people are noted to, while not enjoy her company, respect her intelligence. Typically, geniuses have a hard time socially, and she's no different. She's terrible at reading people and situations on an emotional level, which, if you've played her story quest, you definitely know. She tries to give out coupons and promote the funeral parlor, not dissimilar enough to a sort of children's attraction at an amusement park. Hu Tao, on a deep level, shows signs of true loneliness due to her strange nature. She makes imaginary friends, likely because, unlike real people, they can't reject her if she doesn't want them to. Even so, she moves on from these figments of her imagination. The time that really comes to mind being when she had 2 lions that were statues in front of the legal center, I believe. And Li Wei pretended they were her pets. Other people in the town of Li Wei noticed this, of course, and she used to clean them up. However, guards noticed that she had stopped coming, so they asked her why, and she said the reason she didn't visit anymore was because they had grown up and didn't need her anymore. Which, when you think about it, is rather sad. She hadn't gained a new friend, she hadn't grown up. She was no longer a child by the time this had started to begin with. It's almost as though things moving on is something she's used to, and that affects her view on how to love and care for things. It's safe to say that any of you that own pets or children or have children will continue to look after them, probably for the rest of their lives, whether they really need you or not. Hu Tao's nature becomes more apparent when she meets Chi Chi, a young zombie who was killed long before one would say she's lived a full life. Hu Tao declares herself Chi-Chi's best friend immediately and proceeds to try and send her into the afterlife. In Hu Tao's mind, Chi-Chi was trapped in the world of the living, and I think this mindset stems from her experience with her grandfather. You see, after Hu Tao did his ceremony, she went to the pathway to the afterlife, which I don't remember the name to. I think it is just called the Pathway to the Afterlife. And she waited for him, hoping to see him one last time, but that would never happen, unfortunately. She was told by a spirit that He had no regrets in life, and so Hu Tao figured that he simply moved on the second he arrived rather than lingered like many of the other spirits. After figuring this out, Hu Tao smiled and seems to have continued to do so ever since. I believe that Hu Tao took the way her grandfather felt as the way everyone should feel about the afterlife. Hu Tao believes death isn't only natural but desirable, which in and of itself actually kind of makes her conflict with every other person in the world we've met so far. Every story of every character is about how they strive to survive or accomplish something or strive for life in different ways. Zhongli spent hundreds to thousands of years fighting his brethren in order to keep living. Venti fought for freedom, for life, for peace. Diluc is scorned by loss and wishes to protect people from feeling the same. Chi-Chi is afraid of death and constantly defies it every day. Traveler's sibling is fighting for the lives of the abyss. Tartaglia fights to feel alive. Ningguang fights for her aspirations of glory. The Raiden Shogun fights for eternity. Diona fights for her father to get better. Fishu fights for her sense of justice and adventure. And the list goes on and on. Whereas Hu Tao arguably fights for death's sake. If the Grim Reaper was represented as a Genshin character, it would probably be Hu Tao. She is Hades in the story of the Greek gods, doing the work that needs to be done while forever separated and ostracized by everyone else, despite her work being important for everyone. A person like that isn't someone who's truly smiling, not all the time. And Chi-Chi actually has a voice line that provides a hint to those who listen.
Warm, fake smile, death. I despise Hu Tao.
Hu Tao has found herself two friends, despite all that she has done to burn quite literally every other bridge. Through her passion and poetry, she managed to intrigue Xingqiu, who of course brought along Changgyun, who's like a little butler in a way. They exchange poems in a sort of contest and enjoy each other's company. The two are actually very similar. They have a love for poetry, they're lonely, and they're geniuses in their own rights, and both of them have visions, of course. I like to think back on a concept, that being strong people need strong friends. I personally believe this because you don't quite need to spend all of your energy defending said friend, and also you simply get along better. You understand one another. I think this concept applies to intelligence as well. Intelligent people need intelligent friends. The loneliness and feeling of solitary felt by the smartest of people is very much natural in our society. No one can understand their mind for the most part, and people usually aren't kind to what they find strange. Due to this, I think that the only times she's truly smiling is probably when she's with Xingqiu and Changgyun. I think Hu Tao's mischievous nature is due to her more lonely side. If you ever watched a show like Naruto, or read about why someone may be a bully, a lot of the time, those who are ignored want to be noticed, and negative attention is better than not existing in the eyes of others. And since she quite literally freaks everyone the hell out, it's no surprise that she would become a prankster. It's natural, a lighthearted prank or two would be a good idea to her. On a more simple note, I think she's a quirky person and would be a prankster no matter her upbringing. Hu Tao genuinely tries to make people smile and be friends with them. To this day, she is trying to repair the damage she did to her and Chi-Chi's relationship, and in her lore notes that it would likely take Chi-Chi years to forgive Hu Tao. I don't know if I'm being overly emotional, but I honestly think Hu Tao is one of the more tragic characters in the game so far, which is crazy because she's easily like the most upbeat and energetic person in the game. So while I don't consider myself a genius or particularly special, I definitely relate to the feeling of having maybe like knowledge or interests in things that people around me find like weird or they don't really know about. It's really easy to feel alone and in solitary confinement in a way, while looking for someone who's like you. And I'm also sure that many of you out there listening even now can relate to this. She's a really like sad character beneath the surface. And I can't help but feel pity whenever I see her smiling now that I know it's fake. Hu Tao's philosophy on death, however, did make me think of someone else. There was a YouTuber and internet personality called Claire Wineland who was sick with cystic fibrosis, which for those of you that don't know is a disorder that affects the cells that produce mucus, sweat, and digestive juices, and it causes these fluids to become thick and sticky, which obviously causes a lot of other health problems. It plugs tubes, ducts, and passageways throughout the body. And this YouTuber, she spoke about death quite a bit and how it isn't something we should fear as people. It should be seen as a natural part of life that's more so celebrated or at least less feared. As a person, she at least came off as very like positive, usually smiling, and shared like a sort of whimsical feel. I think Hu Tao also gives off. Sadly, Claire passed away, but I can't help but like think of her when I use Hu Tao now. It's so weird. I think if Hu Tao was real, they'd have been really good friends. I think looking at death in a sort of lighthearted and positive way is interesting, although I can't say I think it makes losing anyone we love any easier. One thing I will say is that Claire sold the idea a lot better than Hu Tao probably ever could or would. All in all, our beautiful butterfly is a great representation of how great the writers of Genshin Impact are when they are actually trying. To say Hu Tao is a tragic character on the outside looks strange, but after a bit of thought, I find it strange anyone could see her as anything but. Punished for uniqueness and cursed with antisocial tendencies, she was doomed to suffer a long life of being relatively alone until one like her appeared. Allow me all to leave you with this quote. If you meet a loner, no matter what they tell you, it's not because they enjoy solitude. It's because they have tried to blend into the world before, and people continue to disappoint them. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day. Oh, and if you like this, tell me who you think I should do next.